go over this notice that Visa and MasterCard sent out, what that means, if it's going to affect you, if it's not going to affect you, what to look out for, what you can do about it to protect your existing business, what I think the future of cash discounting is and where it's going. And, the fact that they're getting in and they're trying to, they're going to start monitoring. They want to make sure things are being done correctly, which we've been going on cash discounting, at least us with EasyPay. We've been going 5 years on this thing, and they've kind of stayed out of the way. And we've been preparing for this, or at least we have on our end. And that's what I kind of want to talk about moving forward, what you can do to protect your business and all that stuff. But I want to make sure everybody can get into the chat. When I do these Zoom calls, most people I don't know personally on here, but I give you everything that I've got on these Zoom calls. I've stopped some things this week to really give this attention and to help whoever would like to talk about this. So in the chat box, if you can just let me know where you're from, where you're chiming in from, just say hi. Just let me know you know how to use the chat box. I'm going to give this about 1 more minute. We're right at 11 o'clock right now on the East Coast. Ohio, Louisville, Wisconsin, Seattle, Whidbey Island, Connecticut, Chattanooga, Dallas, Little Elm. I used to live in Little Elm, Dallas, right up there by the lake. What's going on? What's going on in Spokane? Edwin, what's happening, buddy? James, good to see you. Dixon, Texas, Virginia, New York, all over the place. Arizona, where in Arizona are you? Sedona is one of my favorite places. Buffalo, San Antonio, Portland, Maine. What's going on? Can't remember the restaurant right up there on the water, the Lobster Bisque. Incredible. Portland, Maine. Woodlands, Texas. Tucson. All right, perfect. So we got people from all over the place. I appreciate you jumping in here. I don't know where you found this, if it was from my YouTube channel, if it was on a Facebook group, or just an email that I sent out. I appreciate you plugging in here, and let's get into this. So this notice was sent out. What does it mean for your business? YouTube, email. Awesome. Thank you, Mike. So what does this mean? So before I fully get into the actual memo, I'm gonna promote this book right here. Okay, I don't know who has read this or who hasn't. Actually, in the chat box, who has read this? Who Moved My Cheese is one of my favorite books of all time. It is a very short read, and because you're on this webinar, there's some changes that are coming. I highly, highly, highly recommend that you check this book out. I'm actually gonna put a link. I prepared this one ahead of time. I want you guys to read this book. If you are concerned about what's coming in the industry, if you haven't read this book, or even if you have, right now is the perfect time to go read this book. And what it's about, just to speed this up, it's about your skills, right? We have all these different skills, and one of the skills that this book specifically talks about is the skill to change. Can you see change coming ahead of time, or do you wait until it's already on you and it forces you to change? Because things in life are constantly changing, they're evolving, they're moving. The cheese gets old, right? And some companies and some people see change ahead of time, so they're prepared for it. And other companies, I think about a Blockbuster, right, don't see change coming, don't take the actions in time, and they go extinct, or they're forced to make change, which is obviously a lot more stressful. So this is a book I just wanted to recommend for everyone out there, because there is change coming into the industry, but that's nothing new, okay? That's always happening. And if you see it ahead of time, if you're prepared for it, then it's not a big deal, okay? So go check this book out on every level, not just this industry. But I'm gonna cover 4 things here. What this memo means for your current book of business, what can you do moving forward, the future of cash discounting. Obviously, this is my opinion, this is my webinar, I'm just sharing my insight on all of this. And then I have not been open to the public and taking calls and working with people for some months now. I actually semi-retired about 6 months, maybe a year ago. But with all these changes happening, I'm opening up this week. I am going to be taking calls. I am going to sit down with those of you that want to connect with me. So if you stay to the end, I'm going to give you a link to a calendar where if you're interested, we can sit down and we can actually talk, you and I, one-on-one, and we can discuss some things. I'm opening up my schedule, so at the end of the call, I will share that link there. So what happened? For anyone on here who's not really familiar with what's happened, all you're hearing about is a memo. What happened is Visa released a memo on April 4th, and in the memo, I'm going to read it off the paper I have here, not my screen. They said in the memo, quote, Visa has been conducting random on-site audits of merchants across the United States and continues to find many of them in violation of one or more of the following Visa core rules and Visa product and services rules related to surcharging. Long story short, they basically send out a bunch of secret shoppers and they are finding tons of businesses in violation of their rules and policies, right? They're finding a lot of people that are not compliant. So a list here of common violations they found include surcharging was assessed on debit cards, right? If it was a surcharge program, they were charging for debit cards. The surcharge amount exceeds the cost of acceptance, meaning merchants are charging their customers more than what their fees actually cost them as a business owner, right? All those people that say, well, why don't I just do this myself, right? They're most likely charging more than what their processor charges them, right? That's one of the reasons they shouldn't do it themselves. Surcharge disclosure signage violation. So either the signage is done wrong, it's worded wrong, or they flat out didn't put up signage and they're sneaking it in. Who knows? Next one, merchant has not registered with Visa prior to commencing surcharging. So, right, there's cash discounting and there's surcharging. I'm not going to get into the difference on those. But as far as surcharging goes, you're supposed to register with Visa and all of them. People weren't doing that. And then the last one I have on my list, non-compliant deployment of cash discounting. Okay, so that's what happened. Okay, the memo went out. That's what Visa has been up to. That's what they've been finding, and they want to crack down on it. So the way that Visa wants to crack down on it is they're not going to go out and hire 1 million people to go door to door to every small business across America and assign violations and sign fees. They're going to do it through the processors and through the acquirers, the mega ones. So another part out of the memo reads, this was sent to the acquirers and to the large processors, okay? So this is what they received. So you have 60 days from the date of this letter to conduct internal reviews and to complete and return the attached form. In addition, each acquirer is expected to disclose the names of their registered ISOs that offer surcharging and cash discounting to merchants, which is basically every merchant company out there, and their website address so that Visa can confirm compliance of our Visa core rules and Visa product and service rules relating to surcharging. Oh, I would think I'm at high elevation. I'm out of breath on that one. All right. That means every company out there that offers cash discounting and surcharging is going to be under the microscope and they're going to get looked at. Okay. So if companies are not doing everything on the up and up, this is a big freaking deal. Okay. If you've built a big business of cash discounting with a company that is not on the up and up, that's something to think about. If you're with a company that's doing everything on the up and up, we're going to talk about that. But that is what's going on. And so are they trying to stop cash discounting? I don't interpret it that way. Are they trying to intervene and really crack down on it? I definitely interpret that as a hell yes, they are. Okay, so what does that mean for your book of business? Okay, if you're thinking about memos and you don't understand how file builds work and terminals and all that, you might be sitting there confused like this man right here at a press conference. What the heck does this mean about my business? Okay, so the truth is that depends. It depends on who you're with and if they've been doing everything correctly on the back end and have their business, which is also your business, protected and done the right way. Has your processor been compliant from the beginning, basically? Okay, now obviously, no matter what company you work with, they're not going to send out a memo here and say, hey, by the way, we haven't been compliant. Sorry, your book of business is at risk. We're going to have to make all these changes. We have to send all your merchants new terminals, and we've got to figure out the back end. They're not going to do that, okay? On the surface, everything from any good leader is going to be calm, cool, and collected. Island of calm in a sea of chaos. But if they know they're not compliant, there's going to be a lot of shuffling around going on to fix things right now, for sure, in a short amount of time, because they didn't see this kind of thing happening or coming, which is crazy to me. Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple of tips here because just taking someone for their word for it isn't gonna cut it. If you've built a business, it is at risk if it's not compliant right now, basically. Okay, so if you start noticing things, or already have recently, like since April 4th, things like, we're not going to use this terminal anymore. Okay, there are terminals out there that have different file builds that report things differently. Again, I'm not going to get into this. I'm not going to run an analytical webinar. But if all of a sudden a terminal that you've been using forever is no longer the terminal that you use, there's a reason for that, and there might be playing catch up. If you start hearing about the old way, and they're only going to talk about one option, and the old way is the old way and it's not an option anymore, probably not a compliant option to begin with. Merchants begin calling about being billed for debit cards when you put them on cash discount. That's a big one because that's one of the violations. So if you put someone originally on cash discount where it eliminated all the fees, and all of a sudden they're like, hey, I noticed I'm being billed for debit cards now. What's up? You said I was going to get rid of my bill. Okay. Obviously something changed on the back end there. If they start encouraging more traditional accounts. So look, not every company out there loves cash discounting, which is crazy to me. We'll go over that later. But if you're with a company that loves cash discount and all of a sudden starts pivoting back towards like, hey, we want, nothing wrong with traditional. Like, hey, let's do some proposals for traditional. And they don't normally do that. I'm just saying, if it's out of the normal, why? And just pay attention to if business is running as normal around there. Okay, if nothing changes, there's so many great companies out there that are completely compliant and everything's going to be running like normal for you, right? I'm just giving those a heads up that if you start noticing weird changes that are coming out of the blue and at a very fast rate, there's probably a reason for that, especially if it started after April 4th. Okay, so if your old book of business was built wrong is a complex thing. I'm not going to get into details, but literally the way that the file is built in a terminal can be wrong and make it so this is not compliant. It's just the wrong terminal, just the way things are reported. It doesn't take much to do this program wrong, and is not the average sales rep's job to know all that stuff. It's all about the processor that you're with. So just know to look out for these things, be aware of what's going on. I'm not trying to put everyone into a panic because most people have no problem, but some of you might, and you need to know what's going on and what to look for. So we've been talking about this for a while, and I've been promoting things online. And you're going to hear companies talk about not us, right? Your processor isn't going to announce that they were caught off guard with this. Again, for those of you that have read Who Moved My Cheese, it's all about seeing things ahead of time, which I'm going to talk about shortly. But the truth is, this presents a huge opportunity for us. Okay, this has happened multiple times in my 13 years in the industry. This just happens in life. It's just a general rule of thumb. The cheese moves, cheese gets moldy, things change, things evolve, things grow. And all this is, for those of us that aren't panicking because we were already prepared for this, is what we were expecting. This is literally what I've been expecting and why I'm partnered with who I'm partnered with, because we're already ahead of all of this stuff. Things are already developed for this. We've been waiting for this to happen, literally. And to be caught off guard is pretty unprofessional if you're in the driver's seat and in control or helping a bunch of other sales partners across America. You should be paying attention to this. But I want to talk about the last couple of waves, because this is nothing new. And every time there's a new wave, it's a huge opportunity for those that are partnered with the right people, have the right mindset that change happens. I welcome change. I go with it. I'm ready for it. And you can get to the next level in your business because of it. So I remember when I first came into the business, interchange pricing was the new thing, right? This was the new wave. Everyone was getting off of tiered pricing. They were going on to interchange pricing. As always, major companies didn't like it. They wanted everything to stay the same. They wanted to resist the change, but that change happened. And those that went with interchange pricing, we went out and we absolutely killed it. Next thing that came along was EMV. Whether you were in the industry or not, everybody remembers when they started putting those chips into credit and debit cards, right? That was a wave in our industry. That was one of my favorite times in this industry, actually, because it was fish in a barrel, right? There was a deadline. Everyone needed to have a terminal that accepted EMV cards. You walked in the door, they had an old VX510. You're like, oh, hey, you need a terminal that takes the chip card. Hey, lucky day for you. I'm giving them for free. Here you go, right? It was fish in a barrel. So that was the next wave. Very, very, very profitable and exciting time in the industry. And then cash discounting. There's no question that cash discounting is the best thing that has happened in this industry. I can't vouch forever because I haven't been in it forever, but it is the best thing I have ever heard of happen in this industry. It brought all the profits back. It didn't just bring profits back. It freaking quadrupled and more the profits. We could walk in and get rid of people's bills. I mean, how easy can this get when you can go in and someone's paying $2,000 and tell them, let's get rid of it, or $1,000, let's get rid of it. I mean, how easy is that? And we also quadrupled, it's even more than that. I don't even know the word, 7, 8, 9, 10 times the profits for getting rid of people's bills. So that was the wave. So I jumped on the cash discount wave about 5 years ago when I started Easy Pay. People thought I was crazy. That's going to be a fad. That's going to go away. People aren't going to like that. It's going to scare away customers. That's bad for the business. Yada, 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 yada. Right? Well, here we are 5 years later. That wave, we've been cruising on that wave. That wave has allowed me to retire at 36 years old and go enjoy my 3 kids and family and life. I love it. Cash discounting made that happen at such a fast rate. And I want to put a note in here. Cash discounting is very alive. If you're with a compliant company, I'm not scaring you away from cash discounting. I'm letting you know you're in an industry where things aren't always done correctly. And if they are not being done correctly, you have a problem right now. If it's being done correctly, I want to lower your blood pressure. You're okay. It's all right. Everything's going to be all right. Just make sure things are being done correctly and look for little changes, like I said. So that was the third wave. Okay, there's a fourth wave. This wave has been developing. This is not new. It didn't just start because of, April 4th, this memo going out. Maybe for a lot of people in the industry, this is going to be new news. But this wave we've been talking about, I've been putting videos out all year about this. My partners are one of the pioneers of it. They've been preparing this for years because, again, who moved my cheese isn't just about being willing to change. It's seeing change. It's knowing it's coming. It's preparing for it so that it's an easy transition because you did it by choice, not by force. And that fourth wave is cash discount 2.0. And you're going to start hearing somebody else in the industry that I respect a lot have another option, which is dual pricing. Okay, cash discount 2.0 and dual pricing are not new, but this memo that Visa and MasterCard has sent out is just created this wave that is not already was it starting. Now it is going to go very, very quick, way quicker than I ever anticipated. Normally a wave takes time for people to accept and kind of jump onto and all that. Well, now people that are going to panic about not being compliant and stuff, they're going to transition instantly over to this. This is now what you guys are going to be facing out there in the streets. Your cash discount deals are going to start being pitched cash discount 2.0. And once someone's on 2.0, they're not ever leaving. There's no legislation that can pass. There's no rules. There's no county. There's no city. There's no president. There's no rules that say you can't do cash discount 2.0. Visa can't come in and tell you can't do cash discount 2.0. Okay, if you're not familiar with it, go YouTube it. Joe Wagner, cash discount 2.0. I just put tons of videos out about it, and now I'm going to put a bunch more because this tidal wave just got sped up big time thanks to this memo. I'm freaking stoked about it. We're fully prepared and ready for it. So step 2, what to do moving forward. If you're uncomfortable with where you're at or you start noticing changes, you need to plug in with people that are already prepared for this. If this was new news and nobody expected this, you're with the wrong group, okay? You want to be with people that have vision, that know where things are going. I picked a picture here of Tom Brady. It's any quarterback I could have used. But one of my favorite analogies in life is quarterbacks don't throw the ball to somebody where they are. They throw the ball to where that receiver is going, right? If you're running a post route or a go route, for those of you that know routes or football, you don't throw the ball to where the person is. You throw the ball ahead to where they're going. And that's how you run companies, and that's how you grow, and that's how you move with the cheese. You always throw the ball ahead of where the receiver is, not where they're at. And you need to run your business and partner with people that think like that. So talk is cheap, right? Actions speak louder than words. We've been talking about the 2.0 wave is coming. For those of you that are on my email list, down at the bottom, a couple times a week, there's a banner. The 2.0 wave is coming. It's been there for a long time now. Videos that I just put out, like prime time for 2.0. Again, if you haven't seen these, go on YouTube. This isn't anything new that's going on now. It's just going to become a tidal wave much quicker than I thought. My merchant sales pitch book, I don't even have to change anything in this. This memo that went out changes nothing because the book is already designed for the next wave of cash discounting. It already walks you from your intro to the close for the new way of cash discounting, which is cash discount 2.0. Again, if you want 1.0, just do it in compliance. It's all set up in the pitch book. I don't even have to change anything because we're already aware of this. And this, as I've mentioned, reminds me of when cash discounting first came out, when I started Easy Pay, and people thought we were crazy. They thought that that's a fad. They thought it's going to go away. And we went all in. We're like, this is not a fad. This is the next wave. By the time all the industry caught up, we had already built such a foundation of financial freedom and accounts. It's just freaking crazy because they are wrong again. Okay, so if you've been online, if you're looking at the 2.0 stuff, there's people out there that have been bashing it. They're talking about that doesn't make sense. Merchants aren't going to do that. All the same crap that they said the first time. And they probably said the same thing about interchange pricing. It's just a pattern that they're just wrong and they resist change. Okay, so I'm telling you right now that this is coming. This is the future of cash discount. I'm not saying it's the only thing you should be offering right now. You don't have to switch overnight completely, but this should be in your portfolio. You should be learning about it. And instead of figuring it out, you should be plugging in with the people that have already been prepared for this for years now, not since April 4th. Okay? A lot of people online like to talk a lot, but, actions speak louder than words. They're absolutely wrong about what they said about all this. Now that memo came out, they'll all be singing a different song. All right, so step 3, if you want to get on a call, if you want to talk about cash discount 2.0, if you want to talk about your concern about, are you in compliance? If you just want to talk about the industry, I am opening up my schedule. I'm doing 15-minute blocks where you can jump onto my schedule if you want to catch up. I will offer to work with you, okay? If you don't want to work with me, that's okay. We could still have a call. I'm still open to having a conversation and answering whatever questions you may have. Okay, I have my pitch book if that's something that you think is going to be helpful for you. I have a free training website. If you just want to skip me and even having a conversation with me and just want to go straight to, I need to get on the 2.0 wave, then I put that link in the chat box as well. It's cashdiscountprofessionals.com. Okay, that'll take you right to a page. You can start learning about Cash Discount 2.0 and who you can plug in with to learn it. So I hope to be talking to many of you very soon.